Chassidim, we're getting ready for the Yom HaBohir, the special day, the auspicious day of Chof Ches Sivan, the 28th day of Sivan. And just in a way of preparation, to put it into perspective, to speak a little bit about the significance of the day. And much has been said, and I'd like to reiterate, maybe focus on some of the points that some of my colleagues have spoken about in terms of this day. So it is, of course, as we know, the day that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin arrived to these blessed shores, something which the Rebbe reiterated, calling this a Medina Shel Chesed, a country of kindness. And of course, the day of Hatzalah, the day of salvation, the day that somebody has been saved from the certain Rahman al-Islam, what 6 million of our people faced. And to be saved from that, that's a great day in and of itself, no matter what, for any Yid who was saved. And that's significant in and of itself. And as a matter of fact, when it's been written about what the day is, it says the day that the Rebbe was saved from the valley of tears, of crying, of Europe, of what happened. But I want to speak about how and when the Rebbe shared it, and I'll put that a little bit into perspective. And it's been mentioned that it was exactly 40 years ago, in this time, that by divine providence, the letters of the Rebbe's Rebbe and father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, were published, and in it there was the letter from the 28th of Sivan where the Frierdiker Rebbe was letting a certain Radam Rabinovich, he was called a Chossid in Boston, was active, he and his children, in bringing about this. There's a whole long story in and of itself, which is documented, and saving the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin, so letting them know that they actually arrived safely on these shores. So this particular date only came to light 40 years ago. And it was over 40 years since the date had happened. It was 45 years later. Nevertheless, Chassidim don't take anything for granted. They prepared a great Suda Seidah, a meal of thanks and a celebration. And as it's been told, not people didn't want to do it. They thought it would be, there were people who were a little queasy, etc. But the Bachram prepared it, and Rabbi Meir Harlik went to the Rebbe and presented a bottle of mashka for this, as was the custom. And when he made the announcement, he said it's the day that the Rebbe was saved, and the Rebbe corrected him, and the Rebbe said, Ishu Beisai, which means the complete household. The Rebbe and the Rebbetzin had come, but it's not, it was a rare acknowledgement publicly of the Rebbe's private life and the complete unit of the Rebbe's life. But it's not, anything of a Rebbe is not just to be taken lightly. So that was significant. And if let's look at it a bit more. The year of 1986, 40 years ago, Mendel 5746, was a very tough year, a year replete with challenges. In the beginning of the year, there was the court case. A court case against, a court case that was at the very core of it was the existence and the legitimacy of the Lubavitch movement and led by the Rebbe and of the Rebbe himself. That's how the Rebbe looked at it. And this is what ratified the existence of Lubavitch, and the Rebbe looked at it as the existence of the whole Chassidus. It was that type of exeda, as we focus on this on Hey Tavis. In that year, there was the question if the Rebbe would have to testify, and there was that victory and that challenge. And a couple of months later, the Rebbe himself went through a physical ailment, a terrible ailment on his foot. He wasn't able to go downstairs to the davening for close to 6 weeks. He was davening upstairs. As is well known, he had a sciatica together with an infection at the same time, and he really literally wasn't able to walk. It was happening on the 27th of Adar. And there were other things which now is not the moment. So when it came the time that by divine providence this holiday came out, and the Rebbe was Misyachas, the Rebbe actually gave the bottle of mashke, and even said, it's not just for me, it's for the whole household. It's really to look at. And that's where it started. And for the next 3 years, and the next really more, the Rebbe spoke about the significance of this date. And this is what's important for us as Chassidim to see, because the Rebbe looked at it not just as a day of salvation, but a day of beginning, a day which the last frontier was starting to be conquered, so to speak. And the Rebbe led his whole Nesius, his whole leadership of the Lubavitch movement through the three organizations that were founded immediately upon the Rebbe's arrival, the Merkaz Nyonei Chinuch and the publishing house of Chossid, the publishing of Chassidus, and Machmi Yisrael, the social arm of the Lubavitch movement. These three started, and the Rebbe looked at, and the Rebbe said that this was a Tenufa Chadosha. This was the Hafatzas HaMa'ayanos of his Rebbe, of the Frierdiker Rebbe at that time. And the Rebbe worked hand in hand with the Frierdiker Rebbe. And of course, that's what he used to continue it. So, as Chassidim, we have to prepare for this day, and it came to a pinnacle when the Rebbe was still healthy in 1991. It was 50 years. 50 years of the Rebbe's arrival and the Rebbetzins' arrival in these shores. So as Bocharim and a few years alike, we sat down and said, something has to be done to mark this occasion. We're ready for bringing every year, but this year it's special. It's a Yovel Shonim, it's a Jubilee. Yovel is forever, La'olam. So it was decided to put together a koivitz, a kuntris, a little booklet that collected the talks that the Rebbe spoke significantly about this day, and some of the Chassidus that the Rebbe said for this day, and put it together. And in addition to that, a biography, I should say a story, and it's actually a skira, a little review. I happen to have had the schus to those the edits that I did on that koivitz itself, the first word of it. Anyway, it's an overview of the story of the salvation of the Rebbe, and it was put in with some documents and different things, and it was printed for this occasion. Now, in that year, in Tafshin Nun Aleph, 1991, there was also a big Suda Seidah, as all the subsequent years from Tafshin Nun Vav, from 1986. So, there was going to be a farbrengen that night, the night of the 28th of Sivan, and there would be, this kuntris would be available. It was given to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe actually gave a date for it, and he agreed for it to be published. I mentioned another time someone wanted to know what was the change the Rebbe made. In other words, how did the Rebbe, what was the Rebbe's hachlatos? What was his input in this? Well, it's well known what the Rebbe said, that he wanted it printed, and he is going to distribute it miyodei akdosha, from his holy hand, to each and every individual, men, women, and children who come, and he'll give this and share this with everybody. So there's no greater hachlatos than that. The Rebbe stood for 5 hours or so, as is well known. But I want to point out, people forget, there was a farbrengen that night. The farbrengen didn't start till, if I remember correctly, you could look it up, at about 11 or 12, whenever the chalukah was finished. And then I remember, as a group of Bocharim, we sat down, the ones who prepared it, we just said a little extra l'chaim. We said, wow, what a schus. What a schus that the Rebbe actually took this koivitz and gave it out and shared in such a broader scale the Torah that he said, in a way that it could be learned forever. And really, this was the impetus to everything that the Rebbe did throughout his Nesius. It started from when he came, before he was Rebbe, but when he was working together with the Frierdiker Rebbe, because the Rebbe is really a Rebbe from birth. And this was the mechanism which the Rebbe used, and his tools that he shared with us, and gave us the great privilege and honor to share with him and partner with the Rebbe, each and every Chossid, to take part in Hafatzas HaMa'ayanos chutzah through these organizations and this mechanism that Rebbe made. So the Rebbe should help that indeed this year it's going to be 85 years. We'll prepare for it properly. And it's always within a week before Gimel Tammuz, and it's a day that shows us that we have the wherewithal to keep the Rebbe and his work in the whole world stronger, and like the Rebbe said, levedike medaktiv, and so much stronger to bring about the ultimate goal that the Rebbe had, to bring about the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, the truthful redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu.